a KTVB special presentation, Decision 2025, the City of Caldwell Mayoral Debate.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us here in the KTVB studios. This is the City of Caldwell Mayoral Debate. Tonight, we're hosting a debate with the three candidates vying for that position.
We will cover topics including public safety, the economy, infrastructure, and growth, and we'll hear each candidate's vision for the City of Caldwell's future. We're going to introduce you to those candidates now. Incumbent Mayor Jerem Wagner is seeking re-election, facing off against current City Council member Brad Doty and former Caldwell School District Director of Student Safety Eric Phillips. Brad Doty, originally from North Idaho, served in the Army and is a former Idaho State Police major. He was elected to Caldwell City Council in 2021 and started his term in 2022.
Eric Phillips is from Caldwell, Idaho, served in the Navy and worked for the Caldwell Police Department for 15 years. In 2023, he started working as Director of Student Safety and Emergency Operations for Caldwell School District. He has since moved on to other adventures. And Jerem Wagner is also from Caldwell. He is currently the mayor of the City of Caldwell. He ran a runoff election in November of 2021. Previously served as a city councilor and state lawmaker. Let's get into some of the ground rules for tonight. All three candidates qualified for our debate on long-standing campaign fundraising guidelines. And let's go over some of the ground rules for the debate itself. This debate will follow a traditional question and answer format with opportunities for rebuttal and back and forth conversation.
We want the candidates to exchange ideas and have a real discussion. So if you have something to say to your opponent, say it, please. Gentlemen, please leave passive-aggressive comments at the door. Each candidate will have up to 90 seconds for an opening statement and 90 seconds for a closing statement at the end of the debate. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer our questions, and 30 seconds of rebuttal time may be granted. Again, we want this to be a productive conversation, so we will allow meaningful engagement beyond the mentioned time limits.
So let's get started, and it was great earlier. The candidates actually pulled numbers out of a hat to determine who would give the first opening statement. Mr. Doty selected number 1, Mayor Wagner selected number 2, Mr. Phillips selected number 3. So we'll begin tonight with our opening statements. We'll begin with Mr. Brad Doty.
Thank you. Thank you. First, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I've been in public service since I graduated high school at 17 years of age. I entered the Army, as has been mentioned. Once I completed my tour in the Army, I became a deputy sheriff and then moved into the state police. During my tenure at the state police, I was a trooper up in St. Mary's, transferred to Moscow. While in Moscow, I was promoted to sergeant in 2004, which I began my leadership career. About 2012, I was promoted to a lieutenant, moved to Meridian, and then from lieutenant to captain of alcohol beverage control, and from there to major of the Idaho State Police at headquarters. While I was a major, I was over the Bureau of Criminal Identification, over alcohol beverage control, Districts 1 and 2 in the Strategic National Stockpile. Also, during my tenure at the State Police, I graduated from Northwestern School of Police Staff and Command. I think that during my service for over 30 years, you have to find a passion and a reason why you want to serve. And I think it runs deep. I think it runs into our DNA. Many of us can be many different things. Probably everyone in this room has been offered a job where you could make more money. But what I find myself doing is making sure that I do better for the most good that I can, rather than just for myself. Thank you.
All right, we will move on now to Mr. Jerem Wagner.
Thank you very much. So yeah, this is a very exciting time of year. So it's exciting for this election, for the people to be able to choose the mayor of Caldwell for the next 4 years. It truly has been the greatest pleasure of my life to be able to serve the people of Caldwell these last 4 years as their mayor. Growing up in Caldwell, graduated from Caldwell High School, I have a deep devotion and commitment to the city of Caldwell and to the residents that live there. I've worked tirelessly these last 4 years to try to improve the lives of the people that live in Caldwell. The experience that I have, prior prior to serving as mayor, that I did serve in the state legislature. I served as a city council member, and I actually worked for the city of Caldwell for several years as well as the senior planner for the city. So all of these experiences, along with the last 4 years, the great and tremendous growth that we've seen, the new and exciting things coming to Caldwell, businesses growing. It's been just an amazing time to be a part of Caldwell, and it's been truly a pleasure to serve the citizens, and I look forward to serving them for another 4 years.
Very good. And Mr. Phillips.
Good evening, KTVB viewers. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Really, we're here to say good evening to Caldwell. My name is Eric Phillips, and I'm running for mayor to restore trust in how Caldwell is governed. My mission, as I've stated before, is to work with citizens and professionals to rebuild transparency, ensure smart growth is balanced with the preservation of Caldwell's identity, and creating a city government that serves every resident with integrity, accountability, and a clear shared vision of our future. I have over 20 years in the U.S. Navy, 15 years as a Caldwell police officer, and 2 years as the Caldwell School District's Director of Student Safety. I built my leadership and crisis management skills to be ready to serve as your mayor of Caldwell. I've spent thousands of hours studying city meetings and policies, preparing to lead Caldwell with transparency, accountability, and real-world experience. Caldwell isn't just where I live, it's where I grew up. I'm born and raised here. I'm a fourth-generation Idahoan. I graduated from Valley View, CWI, and Boise State. My commitment to you is to keep Caldwell safe, secure, and transparent while preserving our agricultural heritage so families thrive for generations. In Caldwell, I'm ready to serve, and I hope to earn your vote and your support this Tuesday.
And we're going to get into perspectives and policies here tonight, but I think a core question for all voters, and we'll begin with Mr. Doty and Mr. Phillips on this one. It's a twofold question, and we'll start with you, Mr. Doty. Why are you running for mayor? Why do you want this job? And what makes you qualified to do so?
So I think leadership is the key to everything. I come from a police background. I'm certainly not saying that Caldwell needs to be led under paramilitaristic type of leadership. However, it comes from a different type of leadership. I'm for communication with your counselors. We're all elected. It's okay to ask for help. You know, KYP, know your personnel. Let your elected officials and your appointed officials help you accomplish whatever goals those are. Those goals need to be smart, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely, and then let others set the objectives to help you accomplish those goals. The why, again, is you have to find something that's meaningful and purposeful. And oftentimes, people chase money. Clearly, being from a law enforcement background, there's not much money to be chased. And I find myself giving back to my community, my state, my country, and that seems to be where my passion lies. Caldwell is a great place to live, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Mr. Phillips, do you believe that you're qualified to be mayor of City of Caldwell, and why do you find yourself here tonight doing this?
So when you look at the qualifications for mayor, there's twofold, right? There's being over the age of 18, being a resident of Caldwell for 30 days, and being a U.S. citizen. That's your basic qualifications. From there, it's up to the citizens to decide if the combination of things that we possess. I've been a director, right, of student safety, so you're looking at your administrative role. I've spent 15 years in the city, serving the city. I know the city. I feel far better than these gentlemen, and when I talk about knowing the city, it's knowing the whole city, right? Not just from the leadership and the government, but the citizens, the streets, what it's like to be out there in a lived experience. Additionally, you know, I spent 20 years serving the Navy, so there's more of that leadership role. And you're talking about big government organizations, right? Although Caldwell is getting much bigger, the military is far larger of an organization, and when you operate in those environments, it's helpful to learn how to work with teams, budgets, this includes the school district, and really just understand what needs to be done to take care of the city. Having ran the Caldwell, Idaho Community and Crime page, I've also got the pulse of the city. I feel this is something these two gentlemen do not have, and that's why I'm ready to serve the citizens of Caldwell.
And Mayor Wagner, why do you think you should keep your job?
So I believe that we just need to look at the facts. We need to look and see where is Caldwell today, where were we 4 years ago? Caldwell was in a great place 4 years ago. There's been so much going on in Caldwell, the rebirth that we've seen with the plaza construction in downtown, the Winter Wonderland. We were in a good place 4 years ago. And I believe we're in an even better place today. The way that Caldwell has continued to grow, what we've been able to attract in regards to commercial activity, to industrial buildings, new jobs coming to Caldwell. We've been having record-breaking growth, but in many different areas. Not just residential, but with the new industrial that's come to our city, the new jobs that have come to our city, and in continuing to increase the downtown and add things for the people to come and do and see. Crime is down in Caldwell. So if you really look at the last 4 years and where we're at and where we've been today, it's hard to believe that we're even better, but we truly are. And getting to know that pulse of Caldwell and what's going on in our community has just been an amazing thing these last 4 years, and hope to continue for the next 4.
Thank you. We are going to move on to a broader subject, policing and public safety. And I'm going to begin with Mr. Phillips. A lot of your campaign, those of you who follow you on social media, or you mentioned the page that you run, would maybe argue that much of your campaign has been focused specifically on the police department. Would you agree with that?
I would say partially, but I focused on a lot of issues. The police and fire are important to me. Obviously, I spent 15 years, a little over 15 years working with the city. I understand their needs, and I appreciate once, but really I think we're struggling with a lot of things that's going on. There's been a lot of frustration and anger with things that have you seen playing out in the news. And when I look at wanting to serve the employees of the city, right, you have to be there to represent them. And one thing that really bothered me, to answer your question specifically, is that we had allegations that came out, and instead of just staying neutral, right, the mayor decided to go out and support the police chief instead of just staying neutral for what was transpiring. In addition to, I felt like a message was sent to the other employees in the city that if you were to make a complaint, instead of just staying neutral, he chose to send a message. And that's part of the problem that I've had with the leadership, is that there wasn't a neutral stance, and now here we are, and I want to be the leader to represent all of the employees of Caldwell.
Mayor Wagner, did you want to respond to, I guess, that the thought process that maybe you were trying to send a message? Was that your intention?
Yeah, no, I appreciate the opportunity to respond. And so, the intention was to show support. It was not to single out any individual or to put blame on any other employee. As the mayor of Caldwell, you are over all the employees at the city of Caldwell. And that's a big responsibility, and one that I take very seriously. And I appreciate all the employees at the city of Caldwell. I have the opportunity to meet with them regularly. I meet with all the new employees. I met with several today. And it's an honor for me to be able to serve them, because I don't just serve the citizens of Caldwell, but I serve all the employees as well.
We'll move on to Mr. Doty. Caldwell has, as we've heard, been notorious historically for high crime rates, and that's not necessarily the case anymore. Would you say you've had a hand in helping turn that around?
Absolutely. I 100% support our police chief. He's been investigated over and over by the Idaho State Police, which I formerly worked for. And I think that our dedication to public safety is number one. You see that through every counselor. We've raised their wages, we've added police officers, new equipment, new technology. So absolutely, I support our police department, and I think that public safety has to be your top priority.
Thank you. I've got a long-winded sort of explanation here, and we've touched on some of these facts in your previous answers. Mayor Wagner, we understand you're an elected official. You're in a very different position than these individuals flanking you on your sides. You're bound by law that you can't comment on certain personnel issues. But multiple lawsuits and tort claims have been filed against the city of Caldwell and the police department at large related to alleged harassment, gender discrimination, claims of retaliation, wrongful termination, and misuse of public funds. Important to note, a lot of these allegations against the police department were investigated by Idaho State Police and by Post, and they were not founded. However, in one situation, the chief's former assistant sent a demand letter, which resulted in the city's insurance paying $150,000 in taxpayer dollars. The city's insurance also settled with its former HR director for wrongful termination for nearly $500,000. So here's the question. Do you believe you need to restore public trust in light of these lawsuits?
I believe we always need to work on public trust. We never want to forget how important that is. And things are going to come up. Like you mentioned, there's been several of those that have come up these last few years. We want to continue to restore the public trust regardless of what's coming before us and regardless of those lawsuits. And I can say to the public, and I've said it many times before, that when those allegations come up, they're investigated very thoroughly. We take things very seriously when those happen. I've had many employees that have come to my office to discuss the concerns that they've had in regards to certain employees. and we always look into that. We keep that confidential. As you mentioned, these are personnel matters, but it has always been taken very seriously. And when we needed to hire outside sources to do that investigation, we've done so, and we've had them research thoroughly and reviewed those reports to find, what is the facts. And that's for both parties, the one that's having the accusations against them and the other party as well, to make sure that we are providing the facts for both of those individuals so they can feel that we've done our job to make sure that we're providing a safe place for everyone to work.
Mr. Phillips, how would you have handled this situation differently?
First of all, when an employee makes a allegation or a complaint to the city as mayor, I would not immediately return it to the appointed official and let them handle it so they're suspended. That's one of the biggest problems I have. Additionally, if Mayor Wagner talks about caring for the employees, you don't turn around and fire them or let them go or push them out when they're trying to report these things. I can't even understand why that would be a thing if you truly had the back of the employees that you're supposed to be serving. So that's one of the many reasons that I'm running. Is it's just I feel he's not like the right person anymore to do that. I feel that there's many employees that he's betrayed, that he doesn't trust him anymore, and are worried about the future of the city if he's reelected.
Mayor Wagner, do you think that's a fair characterization that if someone complains in the city of Caldwell, their job could be threatened?
No, I do not believe that's correct at all of what was stated. So we take it very seriously, as I mentioned, and we care about our employees. There's a lot of information that just the public doesn't know, isn't aware of, and we don't just fire somebody when something goes wrong. We work with those employees. We create plans for them to try to improve and to do better. We provide training for them. We do everything we can to make them better at their job. And then it's obviously up to them on their part of if they're going to accept that training and learn from it and move forward or not. But we always give those opportunities over and over again to try to make them the best employees possible.
And Mr. Phillips, I'm curious, you worked for Caldwell Police Department for more than a decade. Do you think you have a different view and a different temperature on the department than someone in the mayor's office?
I absolutely do. I've had the opportunity to work with these folks for not only years, I've built friendships and relationships. They're my brothers and sisters, and I absolutely want what's best for them, right? So when I speak of some of these things, I'm speaking because I understand what's going on. I understand the feeling. People are scared to say anything. There's a absolute fear of retribution that if they are to bring anything up. No one wants to talk. People do not even want to go to work anymore. It's that point because they're worried that if they bring these things up, what's going to happen to them. And we've already seen examples of that. That's why we have these payouts and people that have been let go. So that's why I feel I'm best to speak on that because, once again, who's going to come to the mayor if they've already seen what's happened?
And Mr. Doty, would you say that that's a fair generalization of the situation?
I think Eric's statement where he first said he didn't understand is true. He doesn't understand everything that's going on. The mayor's office is the one that holds the personnel files, and council is briefed when it can be. And you have to be careful not to just listen to the loud or the negative people. You have to listen to all the people, gather all the facts, and find out the truth of the matter. And I think you touched on it. We can't always speak until those lawsuits are resolved. And if some of those lawsuits blend into each other, then you're even further delayed. So I believe that, yes, Eric does not understand everything that's going on, though he believes he does.
Would you have handled the situation differently, or do you agree with how it's all unfolded in the last couple of years?
Well, again, I don't know all the fine details as to how the investigation played out, other than what I've been told. But yes, the reports go through HR. Then they're usually investigated by an independent agency. Clearly, I trust the Idaho State Police. I know that several investigations have gone through them, and the results are we still have a police chief with the low crime rate, and we're still driving Caldwell forward with making our city safer by the day.
To kind of cap off this conversation before we move on to the next topic, this will be a follow-up question for all three of you, and a quick remark would be great. We know sometimes working in the news industry that someone will see a headline at the beginning of a story and they don't follow up. And one of you will end up being the mayor of Caldwell. To the people of Caldwell who have a general perception of, I don't follow the news, but something seems off in the Caldwell Police Department, what message would you have in terms of how you would handle it and your temperature on the Caldwell Police Department? We'll start with Mr. Doty.
If the public had the perception that something's wrong, I think we've said this time and time again, you can reach out to any counselor, in fact, the mayor's office if you so choose, and we can give you the information that we can give you, right? So meaning the information that I have received, again, all clear investigations, and a very important point, I don't think it's uncommon for people to sue governments. When I left the Idaho State Police, we had 25 lawsuits pending. We just didn't get the attention that Caldwell is getting right now. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't take the allegations seriously, but you should investigate them thoroughly. And sometimes if the outcome comes out that everything is fine, then you have to accept the outcome. You can't only accept the outcome that you're anticipating or expecting or wanting.
Mayor Wagoner?
Yeah, so I think our police department has been doing a tremendous job of outreach. We talked about public trust, and that's something you always want to work on and continue to build. And they do an amazing job with that, reaching out to the public, doing different things and letting them know that, look, yeah, we are here to protect you and serve you, but we're also people. We're humans. And they do an amazing job with that to build that trust. I know I had the opportunity last night, actually, to hang out with several of our police officers and amazing individuals. The Caldwell High School Cougars soccer team won the state championship in 6A last night, and we were able to give them a police escort into their high school. And so I was able to get with the police department, and they came out immediately to help honor them and celebrate them. And so to spend time with them and just see the love that they have for their jobs, the love that they have for their community. The police department is doing amazing things right now, and it's just exciting to see the outreach they continue to do and for the community to really feel the love and support that they have for them. I think it's just a great thing all the way around.
Mr. Phillips.
As these gentlemen, I absolutely support the men and women of Caldwell Police Department. I regularly share what they're doing out there. I blast it out to the public. I love them. When I see them, I wave. As their mayor, I also want to make sure that their leadership is in tune with what they need. We've seen these things play out in the news, right? We've talked about concerns. Some of this stuff's been omitted, they're talking about. What is that? Why was that omitted? Why are we in these lawsuits? Why are we having to pay out? Once again, if we have people that are out on the ground, out on the street, doing the good things, but they're also fearful of the top of the administration and even of the mayor's office, what are we going to do to solve that? And I'm ready to fix that.
Moving on to another topic that was in the news lately. We'll start out with a statistic. More than a third of the population in Caldwell is of Hispanic or Latino light. And in light of the events in Wilder, Idaho recently, we spoke with the chief of police, Rex Ingram, in Caldwell about the situation there and the trust and the relationship between the Latino community and really the city as a whole. And whether you agree with what happened from the federal government or not, the perspective of the chief of police is that this wasn't handled perfectly. Starting with Mr. Doty, do you believe there needs to be a community or relationship building effort with people who we have heard from in Caldwell that say, I don't know if I feel safe living here anymore?
Certainly I do. I was just out at Caldwell Housing Authority and listened to several of the citizens out there after the Wilder raid. I think it's important to note that it was outside the city limits of Caldwell, that we get our facts straight and we know the truth and what occurred. Just today, I contacted our police chief, asked him if he would meet with one of those community leaders because clearly they don't want to meet in a group yet, that they want to try and restore that trust. So the first step is to get, I guess, a meeting of the first two leaders, right? Our leader from the city, our chief, and the leader from the Hispanic community together to talk about the issues and try and resolve that. You should always do an after-incident review of what took place out there. I believe our chief is doing that, what you can improve on, what went well and what didn't go as planned. And he is certainly doing that, and I feel confident he's doing that based on my communication with him.
Mayor Wagoner.
Yeah, and so that was a very difficult situation where a lot of that is, was out of our hands, with the federal government coming in and the rules and regulations that they now have on them of how they have to handle these procedures. And so, we are there to help support and provide, the trust to the Hispanic Latino community in Caldwell. As you mentioned, yes, almost 40% of our population is Hispanic and Latino. And I met with several of them today just to talk about, what are your concerns? What can we do to make you feel safe, to make you know that your city of Caldwell is here to help you and to protect you and support you and to keep you together as families. And I hope that they know that and they feel that and they know that we are here for that. And we're going to have to work through this. It's that trust that was unfortunately broken by outside forces that we had no control over. So we're left, unfortunately, here with the baggage. And so we're working at that, working with them to make sure they know that we're here to support them and provide whatever they need as a city of Caldwell.
Mr. Phillips.
Well, time and time again, going back to my community and crime page, I absolutely support the Latino community. I share their events, folks living in our community. We had the Caldwell Latino Night Market. It was a wonderful thing that I attended multiple times. Part of that is I want to see the police department down at those same events, not just at those events, but in our schools, at other events happening throughout the city, going to a lot of the restaurants and stores, making those contacts in person is called community-oriented policing. and help people understand that they're not there just to come for, potentially bad things. They're just to see what's going on, to say, hi, how can we help you? These gentlemen are right. That was in Wilder. It was a federal government thing. One concern I do have is the police chief stated that part of why DHS went out there was because he felt there was a large amount of illegal immigrants going to be there. I think that was a misstep, and he probably should not have stated that unless he was able to provide information why he believed that to be a thing. So I think that is where the mayor's office and city council and the police chief are going to need to repair some wounds in that community, because I saw the comments of what happened with his statement.
Okay. Speaking of, yes, Mayor Wagner.
Could I just address that just real quick? So there was a misquote that was in one of the news organizations that stated that, in what regards to what Mr. Phillips just said, it was incorrect. So we did reach out immediately to that news station to let them know and to have that fixed and corrected, so that what actually was stated, the intent of what was said, was what was written. It was not written appropriately, so we did reach out to make sure that was correct, so people know that it was not the Caldwell Police Department that requested that ICE be there. It was a misquote in the paper or in the news organization, and we have reached out to correct that.
Mr. Phillips?
I would like to correct that. I watched the news article and he stated that. Now, if that was a misstatement, that would be great for him to correct that. But once again, it was said on camera, came from his mouth.
And I guess just to, not make a mountain out of this, but Mayor Wagner, do you have the position of, with the chief of police saying, word for word, yes, this was said. However, the way this was perceived, or the way that I meant this, was it portrayed wrong? Because if it was said that way, what was the explanation? Yeah,
and I've had conversations with him yesterday and today in that regards, and so that was not the intent whatsoever. He supports our Hispanic and Latino community. He has that heritage running through his blood, and so I know that it was not in how it was stated was not intended. So he is full support of our Hispanic community and not going out there to just round up people and check on their documents. That's not what we're doing. We want to make sure they feel safe and protected. We're there to help them and support them.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's talk about Farmway Village now. This has been an exciting thing, right, for the city of Caldwell. What is your vision, Mr. Doty, for the future of Farmway Village and future partnerships and opportunities with it recently being annexed?
Yeah, so since becoming a council member, I've been invited to those meetings out at Farmway Village. I was the representative before Mike Dittenberg was elected to city council. We certainly have a partnership with them. It was super exciting to welcome them into our community. They were excited. They are every time I go out to their meetings. Absolutely, we want them part of our community. I think they're vital. They provide a vital resource to our community for those struggling at times, and help give them a leg up to whatever their next adventure may be. They also have future plans to expand Farmway Village, which again, I think helps our farming community, our agricultural community, our industrial community. In fact, believe it or not, we've had a state officer live there before because of the wages that state officers make. So I think they contribute to our community and they are an asset.
And we are definitely going to follow up on the agricultural side of Caldwell, because I think that's very, very important. A lot of people want to hear from you guys about how you're going to maintain that backbone of the community. But we'll ask you, Mayor Wagner, what future partnerships and opportunities do you envision with Farmway Village?
Yeah, so continuing the great partnership that we started, when I was first elected as mayor, one of the things that we instituted was community outreach programs. So we would go out to different areas of the community, to different neighborhoods. We'd bring, the library, bring their bus book out. We would have different organizations from the city there to get to know the members of that community. And even though it wasn't part of the city at the time, we always went out to Farmway Village to make sure that those people knew that even though they weren't citizens of Caldwell at the time, that we cared about them. We wanted to know that their voices were still being heard. I loved going out there. I'm fluent in Spanish. I love being able to sit down with many of the residents out there that don't speak English and to talk to them in their native tongue. And it was really special for me to be able to do that and connect with them, as a leader in the community, to connect with them on that level. And so it was so exciting when we were able to finally get the touch that we needed so we could annex them into the city of Caldwell. And we had a great celebration out there, and I'm super proud of that, what we did. So they knew that we are proud of you, proud to have you part of our city once you integrated with it in our community.
Mr. Phillips, what opportunities do you foresee?
So I was recently actually interviewed by another news organization about Farmway Village. One of the things I said is I absolutely welcome them to Caldwell. They've been, visiting our businesses. They attend our schools. They travel our streets. So besides just the annexation, right, that was really the only difference. And now they're voters in our community. As mayor, I'd want to continue that outreach. I do feel they're a very important part of our community. They are at the northwest side of Caldwell, and they contribute through our agricultural heritage. There's just a lot of great people out there. I've had the opportunity when I was an SRO to travel out there many times to meet with families for a variety of issues, some good, some not good, more school related, but I've built those relationships and I've seen what it was like for those kids to live in those homes. I would like to see an improvement on the standards of the structure of the homes. I have some concerns of the living conditions of what some of those have been left in. So really at that's where I'd want to have our building and any other department that go out and take a look and make sure things are kosher and they're squared away, because that's what they deserve, is a good, safe, clean living space.
Next question is for Mr. Doty. Outside of politics within the police department, which of course we've talked about here tonight, Mr. Doty, what do you think the biggest issue is facing the people of Caldwell?
The biggest issue is leadership. We talked about trust here. We've talked about communication. You need executive leadership. Oftentimes in politics, you're at the bottom and you get catapulted to the top once you're elected. I think the experience that I bring is I work myself from the bottom up through the top, and you learn how to solve problems not only outside of the agency but within it as well. My experience with multi-million-dollar budgets led me to find the money that Caldwell has used since the mayor has been in office to do many of the projects that we've done in Caldwell. And so I believe it's a leadership, the ability to lead people, communicate with your folks, make them feel like they're a part of the team, right? If you have a team of people and you turn them loose and we're all trying to help each other accomplish the goals, the team is unstoppable. We seem to be working in silos. There seems to be 7 mayors out there all trying to do the right thing. However, I believe that can be improved.
Good.
Thank you. We're going to start with Mr. Phillips in this one, and this is for Mr. Doty and Mr. Phillips. You recently filed a complaint, this summer, with the Idaho Attorney General's office in regards to one of your opponents, Mr. Doty, and allegations of a quid pro quo situation with a local developer. Why did you file this?
So for people that know me, know my background, I'm an investigator, right? Hence the policing. Part of that career was being literally an investigator for 7 years in the department. If you actually look at the allegations, they're not so much for Mr. Doty, it's concerns of the developer. Now that's an ongoing process that's playing out, but part of what I have done over time is I've asked tough questions, right? Tough questions that need answers. I'm not necessarily the person to answer that question. So what I do is I relay it to the people that can bring those answers. Whatever that answer is will be up to the Attorney General's office. But really, Caldwell deserves an answer for what was stated in a public meeting, allegations behind the scenes. And once again, if you clearly read it, it's not a focus of Mr. Doty, even though he's involved in this, it's the developer himself.
Mr. Doty, what is your response to that?
I will say this, that just like I've said before, we'll let the process play out. I have not taken one dime from Mr. Ginke. I don't intend to, though it's been alleged to, and I'd like for Eric to answer. Does he think I've taken money? Because the allegations in today's paper were bribery, they were crimes. And I spent 29 years in law enforcement. Now all of a sudden I went rogue, and he talks about his page. I mean, they say we're part of a crime family. They allege violations of the law all the time. And then he steps away from it, just like he did now, or says it's a First Amendment right to do that. You can certainly clean that up. You either know the truth, and you should correct it, or you don't know what you're talking about, so you let people ramble on. So I'll stick to the same statement that I have. I've never taken one dime from Mr. Ginke, and I don't ever intend to.
Okay, thank you for clearing that up. Moving on now, focus on the economy. I mentioned that we were going to talk about this. How do you plan to manage and balance rapid residential and economic growth while maintaining the vital agricultural backbone of Caldwell? And we will start with Mayor Wagner.
Very good. Thank you so much. So I think it really goes back to remembering your heritage, remembering where you came from. You know, we have seen incredible growth in Caldwell, and it's played off in significant ways. You know, the residential growth that's come in has helped to attract, you know, the new Home Depot that just opened last month. The Fred Meyer that is now getting getting ready to break ground has already started working on their project. So those don't come with the growth that we've seen in Caldwell. So we want to continue to expand on that, continue to have that strong economy that we have, and then also the industrial growth that we've seen. You know, industrial jobs need places to sleep, and that's your homes in your community. And they want to make sure that they have sufficient homes surrounding their establishments so that they can make sure that they get to work every day. If there's a big snowstorm that comes in, it keeps people away from work, you need to have workers close by so you don't have to shut down your plant, because that can have dramatic effects for several weeks, if not months. And so as we continue to grow our industrial, as we continue to grow commercial and retail, that's all really strongly played on with the residential growth that we've seen in Caldwell.
Specifically speaking to the agricultural component, though, of Caldwell, I think many do fear, many longtime residents of Caldwell do fear that that's slowly slipping away. I mean, we know the family farm is disappearing. We know massive national home builders are moving into the Treasure Valley, and these places are losing their identity. You know, I grew up in Eagle. I understand this wholeheartedly. I mean, what can you do to continue to support that? We need to feed our state and our country.
Yeah, and we do. We need to still provide the food for the people that live here. And I think a lot of it goes to, you know, just maintaining the traditions that you've carried on for the years. You know, Caldwell has an amazing 4th of July. We have amazing farmers market in the downtown. So that's a newer tradition. The 4th of July has been around for years. I remember going to that when I was a kid, and it was at Simplot Stadium, and the fireworks would be going off right above your head, and I remember we'd leave and I'd have ash in my eye from the fireworks following on us. So that's a tradition that's just continued throughout the generations. The farmers market, that's a new tradition that started with Indian Creek Plaza downtown. So that also reflects on our heritage of the agricultural community that we are, and just providing those resources for the people to come down and enjoy fresh produce and to get those things down at that market.
Mr. Doty, you've served on council, so have you been able to help that community? And if you are elected as mayor, how would you do so?
Sure, thanks for the opportunity. You set the goals. So one goal could be that I totally support is infill. Infill has your infrastructure, it has your water, it has your sewer, has your roads already built. So high density infill, and you make it a goal of the city that you're going to focus on infill. You touched on something with private property rights. It is tough to stay off the farmland. I'm happy to report that our area of impact, we did not ask for any expansion to that. State law allows 2 miles. I believe we're roughly 1 mile outside the city limits. That has to be approved by our county commissioners. So again, you focus on the inner part of the city, setting your goals and making it clear to the developers you'd like to focus on that so that we stay off the farmland and preserve it as long as we can.
Thank you, appreciate it. Mr. Phillips.
Really, we need to protect our farmland. We need to stop rolling out the red carpet to large developers, right? I'm definitely pro smaller developments, our infill, obviously. I'm not a fan of super high density. I think when we look at what's happened over here in the Boise area, even though there's very nice things over here in Boise, the farmland's gone here, right? Except for some minor stuff. Ada County is quickly becoming that way. When we hear we need to bring more jobs, I absolutely do love a Home Depot and others. But at the end of the day, if we keep building on farmland, we are also taking away jobs, right? And the more farmland we take away, the more expensive food becomes. So one thing I've talked about is wanting to bring in, and other councilors on the city council have asked to look at the Middleton ordinance, right? There's an ordinance that ties school capacity to development approval. So when we look at some of these big developments, and if we're overwhelming certain school districts, right, not only our charter schools, but Valley View, we need to make sure we're protecting them and protecting our farmland, protecting the community, so we're not overwhelming our infrastructure.
Thank you.
Well, that's perfect, because the next topic is infrastructure. And you know what? We'll start with you, Mr. Phillips. As Caldwell grows, and this is not unique to Caldwell, more people are on the roads. The road takes a beating. We can see the construction. We know that one of the complaints we heard from the people of Caldwell is, boy, when you're getting close to the I-84 interchange, it is tough to get to and from work. If elected, what would your top infrastructure priorities be, and how would you make them happen?
Wow, that's a good question. So even though the statistics are showing crime rates down, I think part of that is you can't get anywhere. You can hardly speed. People are driving aggressive and reckless, and it just kind of feels like the wild, wild west out in Caldwell. So when we're looking at a lot of our roads, right, we have some of our main thoroughfares that are from, it seems like back in when I was a child, right? They're really no different. So we need to focus on potentially expanding those, but make sure we're not upsetting the people that live there and taking away, like in Meridian years ago when they expanded Meridian Road, they sliced whole fronts off of people's roadways. So Bruce Mills, our transportation director, is a gentleman I'm going to sit down. I can not only look at the budget, look at the projects already approved, but then make a decision on how are we going to open up the pipeline for for our city, and that's one of the biggest focuses I'm going to focus on right out the gate, is what we can do to free up some of this and stop doing so much construction at the same time, and let's find ways to incentivize faster construction.
Mr. Doty, you have a unique lens as a member of City Council. In terms of infrastructure, what do you like what's going on right now? What would you change if elected?
So we used Compass. We don't just guess which intersections need to be improved or repaired. We use the data based on the traffic flows, as well as the data from our police department that tells us what intersections are the most dangerous. Oftentimes, because of where we travel, which isn't all over the city every day, we believe an intersection in our area is very dangerous. However, if we use the data that's collected, data-driven results, then you can properly identify what intersections need to be filled or fixed. I do agree that the communication needs to be better between Highway District 4, ITD, and the city. I think oftentimes the city gets blamed for every infrastructure issue in the city. It's important to remember, seek the truth, who's in charge of that piece of roadway. I know that for a couple of our roundabouts, the city has done all the work required to get to the roundabout, and it was a different street district, without naming them, that didn't pull the proper permits. And so oftentimes we need to seek the truth and work together.
Mayor Wagner, how would you evaluate your work on infrastructure within Caldwell and communicating with agencies like highway districts and ITD?
Yeah, it can be difficult because you are working with multiple agencies, you know, Highway District 4 with ITD and then also with the City of Caldwell Street Department. And we try to work together as best as we can. Sometimes you do have projects that are going to overlap in that regards. And one of the things that I've been really proud about that we've been able to accomplish over the last 4 years is the implementation of traffic impact fees. So the city prior to that did not. We had what was called traffic mitigation fees, which was considerably lower than what a traffic impact fee would be. So with the traffic impact fee, now that that's in place, we can charge appropriately to developers as they come in. And we don't want to overcharge, but we also don't want to undercharge. And then we can use those funds to help to build more roads, to help to build more sidewalks, to do the expansions that are needed. So that's been a great benefit for our infrastructure. And then also over the last several years, been working with ITD to see about the possibility of an interchange somewhere between Ustick and Middleton Road, so that we can have an additional access into and out of Caldwell to help alleviate a lot of that traffic that you see on those internal streets.
And while you've been mayor, have you supported alternative transportation options, public transportation, as your city continues to grow? What have you done as mayor, and what could you foresee in the future in that regard?
Yeah, and yes, I have, most definitely. I believe public transportation is a need in your community. And sometimes it's a need that people don't see or realize, because it's not, public transportation isn't for those that can afford cars and that can drive around. It's for those people that can't afford a car. It's people that can't drive, whether they're disabled or elderly or whatever that may be. It provides opportunities for them to explore the world, to go to their doctor's appointment without relying on somebody to give them a ride, to be able to go to the grocery store, to go to the library, whatever that may be. And so I was able to promote that, and working with our prior public works director, we did propose to the council a couple budgets ago some money to be set aside, provide for 2 dedicated bus routes in the city of Caldwell. Those were approved with the budget. However, when that resolution came back to the council, they denied it. And that, therefore, the funding that we thought was going to be there was taken away, and we are not able to work with VRT any longer to get those dedicated routes in the city of Caldwell.
Mr. Doty.
Yes, the council has approved nearly $400,000 for public transportation. I do think it is part of any smart growth plan that you look at or focus on. What I would like to see us do is more of the pickup routes that come to the home, because if you still can't drive all the things that were just mentioned, and it's still 3 miles to get to the bus stop, you still have a barrier there. I would like to see us focus that money more on direct routes or direct pickups and explore that avenue to help our citizens get to where they need to go. Again, because if you still have 3 miles to go to the bus route, you're not going to go there. How do you get that? How do you get over that 3 miles to get onto the bus? And so I would like to see more direct routes, but I do support public transportation as it is part of any smart growth plan.
Is that why that proposal was denied? Was because it wasn't exactly what you guys were looking for? I don't know how you voted in that.
I don't remember all of the details with that. The reason why some of that money was retracted, I believe, was due to VRT using the buses for a certain event that a council member was very passionate about that should not have been used, meaning it took away from our local bus businesses. And based off of that information is why the reduction took place, is how I remember it. Again, we still have dedicated almost $400,000 to public transportation.
Okay. And Mr. Phillips, would you explore alternative options and seek out public transportation?
So, when we look at my military service, I had the opportunity to serve all over the place. Part of that was serving in big cities or near big cities that had public transportation. I saw how very beneficial it was. Now, out here in the West, right, and specifically Northwest, people like to drive their vehicles. So you have to look at what people are actually doing, what they want to do, and are we spending our taxpayer dollars the best way possible? So when you drive around the city on a regular basis and actually see the roads, right, not just a certain section, you see what's also on those buses as far as ridership. There's rarely that I see a full bus, or most of the time it's one or two people on there. And they're quite large vehicles. So I will agree with Mr. Doty that it would be a great idea. And I had a recent conversation with a man that's heavily tied into VRT and advocacy for it. He has seizures, right? So he can't drive a vehicle. And when he rides the bus, he gets dropped off sometimes multiple blocks away from his home, just because there's so many stops. So I think that's where that on-demand and very strategic pickups and drop-offs would be the best route, instead of just putting taxpayer dollars to buses if they don't have the ridership.
Okay.
All right. Well, I cannot believe this is going to be a top topic of the debate, but we want to talk about parking meters. And to update everybody on where we are, the parking meter saga in Caldwell, we will go to our Abby Wilt, who recently had this update on the recent decision from Caldwell.
About a year after removing controversial parking meters, Caldwell is introducing a new parking enforcement approach for its downtown area. The changes align with what the suggestions presented to City Council by the Downtown Parking Advisory Board, which is made up of citizens who make suggestions to Council based on survey results. At Monday's City Council meeting, Council approved changes creating 2 parking zones with different time limits. The core area around Indian Creek will have 3-hour parking limits, while the surrounding areas allows for 4 hours. Enforcement will run from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Fridays. Weekends will be free. The council also approved spending just over $31,000 on enforcement software that lets officers scan license plates and issue tickets electronically. The city will now order signage for the new zones, though there's no word yet on exactly when the system will go into effect.
All right, so all jokes aside, though, I think that the community conversation about parking meters was incredible because it showed how much people cared about Caldwell and how much the people of Caldwell cared about small businesses. And we'll start with Mr. Doty. Now that we kind of have this final version of what the parking meters will look like, do you support this idea? As mayor, would you try to push in a different direction?
Well, I could barely hear what she was saying, but I do support the parking committee that we've put together. However, in regards to the parking meters, we have to remember, at the time, there was a lot of chatter of a parking garage. Those are millions of dollars, 20 to 40 million, even more than that. So the support for the parking meters originally, instead of having the Caldwell taxpayers have to foot that bill, would be that anyone coming to Caldwell would have to pay into the meters, and then that money would be set aside for parking improvements or enhancements or private-public partnership for the parking garage. The issue became, though, once council, how the mayor lost support, was once we learned that maybe the mayor misstepped on his negotiation with the parking meters. So once we found that out and realized that it may be in violation of Idaho code, that's when the support of the parking meters went away. And certainly the rollout of that, the software with the parking meters, we had black screens, we had applications that didn't work. We had parking signs that indicated your car would be towed to Boise. So the rollout could have been done much better as well. But the main concern was there a misstep within the Idaho law?
Mayor Wagoner, do you believe, looking back at that situation, you could have handled it differently?
So hindsight is always 20/20. We definitely could have done a better job. I do not agree with Mr. Doty in saying that the mayor's office misstepped in breaking the law in regards to how it took place. But you can always learn from that. You know, the Parking Advisory Board, it was exciting to bring that to council and have them approve that. It would have been great to have that as we worked through this process. You know, we did numerous outreach. We did open houses. We did community events to get the feedback from the community, from the public of what they wanted and how they wanted to see it regarding the location of the meters, regarding the charging, regarding the hours of the day. And that all went exceptionally well. However, looking back, I wish we would have used an outside source for that. That way it wasn't the city that was driving that. It was the community itself, and they didn't feel like perhaps the staff member was pushing it one way or another. So learning from that experience, we did learn a lot from that, and we made adjustments and changes. As mentioned, the parking advisory board that's now in place. And I think that's what it's all about. We're always going to make mistakes in life, and we want to make sure to correct those and do the right thing moving forward.
Mr. Phillips, what was your thoughts on the parking meters?
It was a debacle. That was a dumpster fire rolling down a river that was flooding thanks to a hurricane. And time and time again, this is one thing I've harped on, is this administration does not listen to the people. Do they sometimes? Sure. This time they absolutely did not. We could look back historically, right? Meters did not work before. Why would they have worked again? Especially when we continue taking parking away time and time again. And we just did it again with another approval recently over by 5th and Arthur. Do I agree that there is a parking issue? Absolutely, but it's a self-created one. These folks keep giving away important parking. The Tilling Apartments, I'm glad people have a place to live, but at the same time, they didn't make them have all of their own parking. And I think that's one of the fundamental issues, is not knowing the city, not looking at the pulse of what's going on, not listening to the people. If you had simply taken a step back and taken a breather, we would have avoided all that and the loss of taxpayer dollars, which was well over $100,000 we had to pay that company.
So what would your solution have been?
First of all, stop giving away parking, right? 105 spots for 75 years. First 20 years, no charge. Another thing is, between 5th and 6th on Arthur, we have a great development coming in, but we gave away about 20-something spots. Additionally, I think we need to maximize the parking that's available downtown. We may have to tear some areas out, some slight areas, but I think we can add probably 25 to 30 spots down there. Also, we need to enforce the existing laws, which they're just looking at doing now. I cannot fathom why we didn't do that in the beginning and see what that did before we cost taxpayers the money that we did and had the embarrassment.
We are almost done with this debate. I know we could talk forever, and I apologize, but this next question you guys are gonna kind of have to answer rapid fire a little bit. We're gonna start with Mr. Doty. What are your priorities for the city of Caldwell if elected as mayor?
Number one priority is always public safety. A safe city is a prosperous city. Number two would be leadership. We've gone over several aspects of that, more communication, letting other people help you. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay for you don't have to be the smartest person in the room, and using other people's skills to accomplish your goals that you're trying to accomplish for the city. And third actually comes from a city survey, and that's for our Parks and Rec and adding more funds to those areas, which this city council has done with parks, as well as our football field, our lights for some of our stadiums, things of that nature. So because that came from the community, like Eric has just mentioned, I certainly would focus on that as well.
Thank you. And if re-elected, what would your priorities be for the next 4 years?
So continue the great things that we've been doing. We were just talking about the parking problem. It's good to have a parking problem. Caldwell used to not have a parking problem because nobody came to downtown. And I think we're forgetting that. We're focusing so much on the negative that we're forgetting how much positive is going on in Caldwell. Like I said, people want to come to Caldwell. That's why there's a parking problem. If people didn't want to come, there wouldn't be no issue there. We wouldn't be able to address it. And so I think we're getting so wrapped around on how do we blame, who we blame for the problems. We're forgetting all the amazing things that have been happening in Caldwell. And leadership is a very deep well. There's so many things that go into being a good leader, being humble, being willing to serve the people, and getting to know the people. And those are things that I've really strived for over these last 4 years, is humbly serving the people and making sure that their will is above mine, and we do what the citizens of Caldwell as a whole want for their community.
Mr. Phillips, what would your priorities be?
So first off, I want to restore trust and transparency in the government, right? I've put placed over 555, I think it's 555 campaign signs, 13 banners out there. For time and time and time again, that's one of the biggest issues, is that breaking of the trust. And you're right, it's good to talk about the good things, but we can't ignore the problems. We got to fix the problems. Some of those problems is support for public safety. In a recent campaign mailer, the mayor stated that he rebuilt Fire Station 1, that he is building a Fire Station 4. He built a state-of-the-art training center for police and fire. He lowered our taxes 40%. That's all not true. There's other factors. One, those haven't been built yet. We can prove that. Two, the state legislature is the one that did that. So in addition to supporting public safety, I want to bring smart, responsible growth and invest in our parks and community services.
But we are about out of time, so we do have to get to our closing statements now. We will start with Mr. Brad Doty.
Hey, Caldwell's a great place to live, work, and raise a family. I have 4 beautiful children, 2 still growing up in Caldwell. We've settled here through my career. We do need to focus on economic development. Economic development is what offsets the taxes for the residents that live in Caldwell. You know, the passage of time, it just keeps ticking by. And I think often we need to focus on the positive aspects of Caldwell. And it isn't so much we shouldn't also resolve the problems. I think it's how. Yelling is not how you resolve the problems. Calling people names is not how you solve the problems. When you're out of things to talk about, you talk about character. If you can't talk about the job they're doing, you attack the character. And that's what we're seeing in Caldwell. We need to come together. Many of these people that Eric is talking about on his page do not contribute to Caldwell whatsoever. You don't see them at any volunteer events. They don't sit on any of our committees or any of our boards, including Eric. He doesn't sit on any of those. You seldom see him at City Hall, at City Council meetings, maybe at the beginning for the quick look that he's there, and then he's gone. Watching it online and fighting your debates online is useless. You have to sit down and work together. I'm proud to be part of Caldwell, and I'm proud to raise my family there.
Mayor Wagoner.
Yeah. So I truly believe at Caldwell, our best days are before us. We've had incredible successes over the last 20 years, but there's so much more to come. And I'm excited to lead Caldwell through those upcoming challenges and through those successes that we're going to experience. You know, we have had some issues that have come up, and we've solved those problems. We've been able to look at solutions. And that's been a big part of what I've tried to do over the last 4 years is how do we find solutions to the problems? And we've done a great job of that working with staff, you know, making sure that we have incredible appointed officials and department managers, and from there down, all of the staff at the City of Caldwell are incredible and doing a wonderful job. Do we make missteps occasionally? We do, but we make sure that we correct those and move on and learn from those experiences. And I couldn't be more proud of the people that work in Caldwell, the people that live in Caldwell, and just the great things that lie before us. There's so much to come, and partnerships are so key. You know, the partnerships that I've been able to build over the last 4 years to continue that growth going on, to continue the industrial, to continue the retail and the commercial coming into Caldwell. A lot of that is on those relationships that we've been able to build, myself and the rest of the executive team at the City of Caldwell.
Mr. Phillips.
So real quick, I want to disagree with Mr. Doty. I think it's important to not only listen to the people that do come to the meetings, but the people that are out there, right? Technology is a thing now, and whether you want to admit it or not, it's how people communicate. So as mayor, I've stated my convictions online, in person, meeting with people, and at these different forums. I said from the beginning that I'm running because I want to do good for the city and stand up for the people of Caldwell. Too often, outside money and influence come pouring in, promising amenities and growth, while ignoring the real impacts that I've talked about time and time again: more traffic, higher taxes, overcrowded schools, and strain on our infrastructure. Just because taxes have gone down, we have levies and bonds that are out there. They don't really care about what's happening to us. They only care about profits, is what these organizations seem to put out, even though they talk a good game. Let me be crystal clear. No amount of money, no flash of power, no backroom pressure will ever change where I stand. I bleed Caldwell, I breathe Caldwell, I live and sleep Caldwell. Caldwell deserves to be a place, sorry, let me get some water real quick.
Good.
Caldwell deserves to be a place where my son, your children, our grandchildren, and future generations not only want to live, but want to stay, and we're seeing the opposite of that right now. That's why I'm running, and that's why I will fight for this community every single day if given the honor of serving as your mayor. And this Tuesday, ask yourself, are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? Are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? I would love to serve as your mayor.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. We are all out of time, so that is what we have. We will see you tomorrow for the Nampa mayoral debate.